I'm going to jump straight to it. What it was like being a mental health nurse on a psychiatric ward when identifying as a spiritual being having a human experience. Well, in one word, it was hard. It was really hard because, for example, my beliefs and even things that I was reading about other people who had had spiritual awakenings, even watching doctors sharing their experience about what psychosis is, and that being a spiritual awakening in other cultures, and then going to a ward and basically what felt like just drugging people up. It was hard. And it was also so strange because I would read things in these books and hear things, and I'd go onto the ward and people were sharing their experiences with me. And I'm thinking, my goodness, this sounds just like the experience that I read in the book about somebody who fortunately was born into the right family, and they could see that it was a spiritual awakening and not a psychosis. Now, does this mean I'm saying that all psychosis and schizophrenia is a awakening? Definitely not, because we can't blanket rule anything. But I am just sharing what my experience was, and what I feel is a massive shame in many of these Western countries is we are so quick to drug people up. But if you go to other cultures, what they actually do is they find an elder who has gone through that so they can guide somebody through their awakening and help them to use it as a gift. And these people are actually massively respected and revered, and people come for miles wanting to see them. And I remember thinking at times, geez, sometimes these people are just born into the wrong culture. But I felt at the time that I couldn't say anything because I didn't want to confuse anybody and make them feel worse than they were already feeling. And also, I was a nurse. As a nurse, you really don't have that much power. I personally just felt like I was a glorified paid drug dealer. That was it. And in the end, I had to leave nursing. Well, I didn't have to, but I did because it just went against my values. I was leaving so many times crying, thinking, what am I doing? I am making these people worse. And I remember there was quite a few people, patients that I'd met, and we would sometimes sit and have one-to-ones and talk for hours, and they were such amazing people. And I could see the spark of the soul, their soul in their eyes. And then after time of being on the ward, their whole body was just a shell. And it was just like, it's like no, like the lights are on but no one's home kind of thing. And it actually was soul destroying to watch, to witness, and to be a part of that system. And it's not even that I know what the answer is for these systems, but I do know from my own experience that I wish that medication wasn't always the first go-to. That actually with these people, maybe they could go into past life regression, maybe they could have some kind of hypnosis to get into their psyche. Maybe we could just see more about their experience of life and why they're going through that, because drugs is not the answer. It does have a place, do not get me wrong. It does have a place. I personally have had postnatal depression, and at that time in my life when I believed in that, that's what I needed. Now if I had depression I wouldn't, but that's because I do feel that whatever your belief is, that is what you go with, because that's what's going to work best for you. Anyway, I feel like I've gone off somewhere which I'm not really sure where. But if you are watching this, and I'm curious what actually pulled you to watch, is it something that you're going through, or is it a loved one that you know that's going through it? And I would highly recommend just go and research and Google, there's a great TED talk, I'll leave it in the notes, about the doctor who shared about spiritual, I think it was like spiritual awakening or psychotic episode or something, and he went and studied other cultures and could recognize that actually it isn't mental health, it is a gift, and it can be used in a positive way if harnessed in the right way. And I suppose that can be with any gift. If you are around in the right environment, just like a flower, if you're in the right environment, then you can thrive and show whatever it is that that gift is. But if you're in the wrong environment, actually it can be so detrimental, especially for the soul. And so now, I mean, I don't do mental health nursing anymore. As I said, I couldn't. It was depressing, and as I said, it was I felt part of the problem. And actually a lot of the times I would think, even I think somebody healthy or mentally healthy going in on a ward would not surprise me if they left with mental health problems. So the environment was not conducive to health. Even the food was not conducive to health, and we really were not working with people holistically, and we are holistic beings. And as I said, medication, yes, it works and it has got a place. However, if you've still, negative loops in the mind, if your environment at home's not good, if you're surrounded by people that aren't supportive, if your diet is terrible, if you're not taking physical activity, if you're not getting out in nature, like, those things matter. So the medication is only one small element of it. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here before I waffle on and go on lots of different tangents. And I do hope you found this helpful, whoever's watched this. Much love and blessings.